Hi art friends! Today I have another book review, and this time we're taking a look at Lessons in Classical Drawing by Juliette Aristides. You may remember that I have already reviewed her book, Classical Drawing Atelier, and you can find that review in the link below. We're going to go ahead and look at this book today, and I will give you a comparison between the two to let you know what some of the differences are. And the first thing that I want to point out here, which is not the same as with the Lessons in Classical Painting, is that it includes a companion DVD tutorial. So anyway, once again, it's a beautiful book. These are just a little bit smaller. And here's the table of contents. So here we go. Here are the chapters. So 1 is beginning lines, 2 is harmonious relationships, and 3 is the elegant contour. So all of these 3 chapters almost seem like they're focused on lines, but what the focus really is first with lines as in like gesture lines, repetitive angles, things like that to start to notice. Chapter 2 is about blocking in. So it's like the outside boundaries, but not a finished, beautiful line that you would use. So this is about just how to start to see things and simplify. This is about how to take that simplification and really get some proportion. And then this is really about how to use line in a beautiful way to describe edges or textures or distance. So even though it can kind of seem repetitive, like line, 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 there are very clear concepts behind everything. And I find it really interesting also that she's really breaking it down and not just glossing over that part of it in order to get to shading. She's really going into how to approach seeing, really looking and understanding rhythm and also understanding proportion, like what makes beautiful proportion and how to use lines. So I just thought that was interesting. Lesson 4 is the illusion of depth. So here's where we're getting into shading and how to make things look three-dimensional. Chapter 5, tonal composition, and chapter 6, light and shadow. So again, kind of all dealing with shading and showing depth, but different ways to show depth and to use shading. So there's our table of contents. Once again, there are tons of beautiful drawings in here, some by Juliette Aristides herself, some by other contemporary artists, some by old masters. And then here's the first lesson, a master copy sketch. So this starts off pretty in-depth. This is not a how-to book for beginners. If you're a beginner in this style or this kind of approach, but you have some experience making marks and being creative and trying to draw, then this can be for you, but it's not really, I think, the way to just completely get started, especially for people who are really intimidated. And then we get on to harmonious relationships and a study of proportion. As we go through here, notice that there's discussion of all kinds of geometry, like proportions of a face, again, the golden rule, just how you can find geometric patterns in everything that you're looking at. And then the lesson culminates with a discussion of site size. So here's all like the kind of usual, how many heads tall someone is, the proportions of the heights of features on the face. And then there's the lesson 2. So each chapter has one lesson with it. This is all about how to do site size. It uses a still life, which is good because if you start with people, they move a lot. And you're going to find out if you do this approach that you also move a lot. And there's just a step-by-step through it, how to first find your height, how to use some angles, how to take measurements, of everything in order to get things the same size that you're seeing them. Then a really nice chapter on contour here. She goes really a lot into the quality of the contour, when to use different types of contour, thin lines, heavy lines, even lines, changing lines. And then there's the lesson of the rhythmic line drawing. Once again, you're starting with a block in, but emphasis is placed on finding shapes that kind of repeat themselves. So angles that repeat themselves, or here the jagged kind of triangular shapes that are around the edges here, and using your line weight to bring attention some places. So this lower part of the stem has really heavy shading, the top does not. This object here in the back is very lightly shaded. The same thing with where this leaf is further away. It has light edges, whereas this one has heavier edges to come forward. And there's a lot of emphasis placed also around that shadow terminator. So it's using that line weight in the contour to bring attention to certain areas and help create depth. And then it goes into chapter 4, the illusion of depth. Beginning with geometric solids. So lesson 4 is a volumetric drawing. So this is where they're taking a block in and then understanding the block structures underneath. So rather than just leaving the figure drawing outside block-ins and shading, the idea is to understand how the head, the torso, like the rib cage area, the pelvis, and the legs are all different kinds of rectangular prisms, so that then you're understanding which planes are facing what directions. Tonal composition. So this is a lot about grouping lights and darks and how to use that for impact. And then there are ideas of light value schemes, dark value schemes, and middle value schemes. Shadow shapes, one of my favorite things, kind of a foundation of everything I do. A mini lesson on composition, composing your subject, looking at John Singer Sargent studies, and then the composition of a tonal sketch. So there's, of course, the block-in, and then really separating out the values before getting into the midtones, so getting the dark areas and the light areas, so basically you have black or white, and then building in your halftones and your grays. And then there's more of a discussion of light and shadow, kind of what I refer to as light logic, definitely what I refer to as light logic. Again, she has a little bit different breakdown than I do, really using the light to show the volume, not just as a compositional pattern, but in order to show the roundness and the 3 dimensions, how to light your subjects. So different types of lighting are discussed here. The idea of starting with the shadows and working toward the light, which is what you do on white paper. Last lesson is form drawing, really trying to get the effect of the light. Now I want to mention that she breaks down everything into stages. She, even in the last lesson, discusses setting up your drawing, creating the drawing, doing stage 1 to determine size and gesture, stage 2 for finding the landmarks, stage 3 formalizing shadow shapes, stage 4 developing the value, stage 5 rendering form. And notice that you don't get to rendering form until the end there. These two books I would recommend for you if you're already into drawing and painting and you really, really want to level up and you want to hone your skills. And if compared to the other books, if you're more into something that is going to lead you more clearly step by step through the instruction, these are really great. The other books have a lot more history lessons, a lot of philosophy, and definitely a lot of the same information in terms of what happens in a classical atelier and how to kind of give yourself that education. But I would say that these two books really lead you more step by step through the whole thing. So this is something more that rather than needing to read a lot and understand the whole idea before putting it into place, you could just start at the beginning. You could read a chapter. You could do the lessons at the end one at a time. I would recommend, spending a year or two on these books, something like that. But yeah, this is something that is more, I think, accessible if you're trying to look for self-study and something to lead you really step by step through all of that. Hey, thank you so much for checking out this book with me today. I hope that you found this review helpful. If there are other books that you would like to see reviewed, leave it in the comments below. Thank you, and I'll see you again next time. Bye.